Good morning, Grade 8 students. We have reached the end of the video lessons for the first semester. Today is the last video, and I'm going to review the types of writing that you have learned so far. So let's get started. Learning objectives. By the end of this lesson, you will be able to compose two well-organized paragraphs about a person you like spending time with. Write a personal blog post. Compose three well-organized paragraphs about a place you have visited. Write a letter or an email giving news. Write a story. And of course you have to do all of that using correct writing mechanisms. Let's begin with the writing task in Module 1, page 15. Describe a person you like spending time with. This will work for writing about one of your friends, family, relatives, or anyone you know very well. Got someone? Great! Let's begin. Now, the easiest way to keep your ideas flowing is to break your topic into subtopics. So look at the questions on the left. Who is this person? Write some general information about the person and clarify who she or he is. For example, you can begin with, I like to spend time with my brother. Then move to the second question. What is he or she like? This question is about personality. So what can you say when describing a person's personality? You have learned a lot of adjectives in Module 1 that you can use to describe one's personality. He is very kind, funny, and quite optimistic, for example. Add more details and say, most people are attracted to his sense of humor. Now look at question number 3. What do you like or dislike about him or her? Think about the person you are describing. Mention the good qualities he or she has and the bad qualities he or she has. I like that whenever I have a bad day, he's always there for me. But I don't like that he's quick-tempered. Now, what kind of hobbies has he or she got? He's really into gardening and he always buys flowers of different categories. What about other interests he or she has got? He's interested in sports and blogging, for example. Finally, talk about what do you do together. We watch movies and enjoy playing computer games together, for example. Keep in mind that when you write a description of a person you like to spend time with, your piece of writing should be organized into two paragraphs. In paragraph number 1, give some general information about the person, name, and relationship to you. Describe his or her personality, and mention good and bad qualities. You can use he or she is very, really, quite, a bit, and start describing the person. He or she is the one who. The best or worst thing about him or her is that he or she is also. In paragraph number 2, describe his or her hobbies, interests, and what you do together. You can begin with, we're both interested in. His or her favorite hobby is. He or she is into. You have learned a lot of adjectives that you can use to describe personality in Module 1. Some of them are kind, helpful, generous, outgoing, easygoing, selfish, and stubborn. You have also learned vocabulary that are related to interests, such as reading, traveling, playing sports, blogging, sculpture, camping, and astronomy. When it comes to the things you do together, these are some suggestions that you can use. Watch movies, play games, talk about interesting things, hang out, and study. Now look at this model. The writer begins with general information about the person. He mentions that his name is Ali, and he mentions how he knows him. He is his next-door neighbor, and they both go to the same school. Then we have a description of Ali's personality. He is funny, kind, and likes to help people. The writer then mentions one thing he likes about Ali, and that is he is always there for him. And one thing he doesn't like, and that is he is quick-tempered sometimes. Next we have Ali's hobbies and interests. He plays lots of sports. He's a good footballer. He's interested in computer games. And finally, the writer talks about what they both do together in their free time. They go to the cinema, they watch action movies, and he also mentions why he likes to spend time with Ali so much. Let's move on to the second writing task in Module 1, which is to write a blog post to present yourself. To do that, write 2 paragraphs, an introduction and a main part. In the introduction, start by introducing yourself. Tell your readers who you are, your name, your age, what your blog is about, why you are blogging, and write your contact information. In the main part, write about the sports you play, the hobbies you've got, the interests you've got, and don't forget to write a heading for each paragraph. When you want to write information presenting yourself, keep in mind to group the information into categories so that it's easier to understand. Also, use appropriate tenses. If you are talking about routines, use the present simple. If you are talking about temporary situations and future arrangements, use the present progressive. But if you are talking about events that already happened in the past, then use the past simple. Pay attention to link your ideas so that your writing flows. To join similar ideas, use and. To join 2 opposing ideas, use but. To express result or consequence, use so. To express reason, use because. To express an alternative, use or. Keep in mind to edit your writing and check for common mistakes such as spelling, tenses, etc. So let's see how much you remember. When you want to write a post to present yourself, you have to write 2 paragraphs, an introduction and a main part. Do you still remember what to write in the introduction? Excellent! Personal information such as your name and your age. In the main part, you have to mention in detail, well done, sports you play, such as tennis and basketball, hobbies you've got, such as coin collecting and horse riding, and interests you've got, such as blogging and astronomy. Now let's have a look at the writing task in Module 2, page 29. A description of a place. Remember, dear students, when you write a description of a place, you have to make the readers imagine this place through the language you use in your writing. Also, don't forget that your description of a place should have 3 paragraphs: an introduction, a main part, and a conclusion. In the introduction, give general information about the place you want to describe. Mention its name, its location, and some interesting features that the readers might not know. In this example, the writer mentions the name of the city, Barcelona. Then he mentions the location. It's a coastal city. Then he mentions some interesting features. It's the second largest in Spain. It's an attractive city and a popular holiday destination. In the main part, describe the most important sites and what tourists can do in detail. So after giving the reader some general information about the city in paragraph 1, you have to mention some of the sites, information about each site, and things to do. Look at the description of Barcelona. The writer starts with a topic sentence that presents the one topic that will be the focus of the paragraph, which is the most important places in the city. The writer mentions Camp Nou and Montjuic Castle, and he gives a lot of details about both of them. The third paragraph also begins with a topic sentence. In this paragraph, the writer talks about things to do in Barcelona. You can take a bus tour around the city, explore it on foot, take a ride in a cable car, walk along La Rambla, eat or buy souvenirs, or visit one of the city's many beaches or parks. So please don't forget, dear students, that in the main part, you have to mention some of the sites, information about each site, and things to do. Now, what kind of information should be included in the closing paragraph? That's right. In the conclusion, you have to give your own opinion about the place. The writer describes Barcelona as a city that has something for everyone. He believes that if you visit this impressive city once, you will want to visit it again and again. This is his opinion. Now let's read through the plan for a description of a place. As we said before, dear students, you have to start with writing an introduction, in which you give some general information about the place, its name, its location, and most interesting features. Then move to the main part and write 2 paragraphs. In the first one, mention some of the sites without listing them. Give some information about each site. These phrases are very helpful. You can begin with, one of the most interesting or well-known places is, tourists like to visit this place because, and when you want to add more places, use there is also, another place worth visiting is, also attracts many tourists, is another top attraction, you can also visit, don't forget to visit. In the second paragraph, mention what visitors can do there. You can begin with, you can, don't leave without, if you want to. And if you want to add more information, you can use, another thing you can do is, you must also. Now in the conclusion, and as we said before, dear students, give your general opinion of the place. Let's choose a place to write about. London, for example. In the introduction, you have to write some general information about London, such as its location and most interesting features. So, do you know its location? You are right. It's the capital city of the United Kingdom. What about most interesting features? Excellent. It's one of the biggest cities in the world. About 9 million people live there. Now let's move to the main part. In the main part, you have to mention in detail what you can see there and what you can do there. So what can you see in London? Very good. The Tower of London, Big Ben, Hyde Park. Now what can you do there? Excellent. Walk around the busy streets, for example, or go shopping. In the conclusion, you have to write your own opinion about the city. Excellent. You can write, London is an exceptional place, a truly modern city that has managed to keep its traditional style and sense of history. Now look at this model. In the introduction, the writer gives some general information about the place. It's the capital of the United Kingdom, one of the biggest cities in the world, and about 9 million people live there. In the main part, the writer mentions some of the sites, and he gives some information about each site. He mentions the Tower of London, Big Ben, and Hyde Park, and gives details about each one of them. In the third paragraph, the writer mentions some of the things that the visitors can do there. You can enjoy walking around the busy streets or go shopping in Oxford Street. In the closing paragraph, the writer gives his own opinion. London is an exceptional place, a truly modern city that has managed to keep its traditional style and sense of history. Now let's have a look at the writing task in Module 3, page 43. Write a letter or an email giving news. Remember, dear students, that when you write a letter or an email giving news, you have to start with a greeting, then an opening paragraph, then a main part, then a closing paragraph, and finally a signature ending. Start with the greeting. You can use hi, dear, or hello, and the name of the person you are writing to. After greeting your friend, begin your email with the opening paragraph. Write the reason for writing. You can start the opening paragraph with one of the following phrases. How is life? How have you been? How are things? I hope everything is okay. Sorry I haven't written for so long, but... And then mention the reason why you are writing this letter or email. Now let's move on to the main part. In the main part, give your friend your latest news in detail. You can use one of these phrases to begin the main part. Remember how I told you about? Well, listen to this. The other day, don't forget, dear students, to give your friend some details. Tell him or her what happened with you and how things have been for you lately. In the closing paragraph, state anything you want to emphasize. Ask for your friend's news and end your letter or email. These phrases are very helpful. You can start your closing paragraph with I have to or I must go now. I hope to hear from you soon. Write back soon. Finally, sign off your email or letter. You can use take care, love, talk to you soon, or keep in touch. And don't forget to write your first name below that. Let's see how much you remember. What should you write in the greeting part? Excellent! You should write hi, or dear, or hello, and the name of the person you are writing to. Now what about the opening paragraph? Very good. You have to make a general comment, such as how are things? I hope you are very well. And say why you are writing. I'm writing because I want to tell you about a new hobby I've taken up, for example. Now what about the main part? What should you write? Well done. You have to give your news in detail. In the closing paragraph, don't forget to write something you want to emphasize. Ask for your friend's news and end your email. Now pause the video and have a look at this model before you write your email or your letter. The last writing task we are going to look at today is write a story in Module 4, page 55. Let me remind you, dear students, that here also you have to write 3 well-organized paragraphs, an introduction, a main part, and a conclusion. In the introduction of your story, describe the setting, I mean time, place, weather, etc. Also, you have to introduce the main character or characters. Look at the story on the right. The writer starts his story with the name of his main character, Steve. He also mentions the time, which is yesterday morning, and the place, which is clearly Steve's house. Now let's move on to the main part. In the main part, mention what happened and what the characters saw, heard, etc. in a logical order, of course. Also, you have to mention how the character or characters felt. In this story, the writer describes Steve's feelings in the beginning of the story, in the middle of the story, and at the end of the story. Keep in mind, dear students, to use the appropriate tenses. Since you are writing a story, past tenses are the most appropriate ones. Join your ideas using linking words or phrases. Don't forget, dear students, to use some of these expressions and phrases to make your story more interesting. All of a sudden, to my surprise, I couldn't believe my eyes. I held my breath without thinking. All of these expressions and phrases make your story more interesting. To describe your character's feelings, use some adjectives such as frightened, shocked, upset, relieved, excited. You have studied a lot of adjectives during this semester. In the conclusion, describe what happened in the end of the story and how the characters felt. Now try to complete this plan. What should you write in the introduction? Excellent! The place, the time, and the characters. What about the main part? You are right. You have to mention what happened in detail. How did the characters feel? And what did the characters do, see, or say? What about the conclusion? You are amazing. You have to mention what happened in the end and what did the character feel. Now pause the video and have a look at this model before you start writing your story. Don't forget to use a checklist to help you improve your writing. Check the features below in your writing and tick each box when you are sure about it. Thank you for watching. Stay safe.